players, whilst they should have the moral fibre, and as human beings in everyday life, absolutely. But these are professional athletes on a sports field, and I guarantee you that that's how.
Do you know why the professional athletes on a sports field?
Because they're gifted sportsmen, Mark.
That's why they're elite sports people.
Right.
Do you know why they are on the platform that they're on?
Yeah.
Because they are paid money that comes through a television contract,
right,
and through spectators watching on the stands.
Yeah.
Now, if spectators and television viewers are saying they're being turned off by the game at the moment, and they're aiming all that bile at referees, but actually the people who are responsible for turning this around are the people who fundamentally will not get to be professional sports people if they don't stop cheating.
I agree.
Are those people, Tom? That's the message that needs to be drilled into them. You're ruining the spectacle for your supporters,
right?
And they're the people that pay your wages.
But I don't think they're ruining it sufficiently to drive enough people away. I honestly don't think that. The pressure that is exerted on these professionals and their competitive edge, right, leads them to do these things. Is it morally right? Perhaps not, but it's a game, and there's an element of gamesmanship to all contact sports, particularly, but all sporting endeavours. There's that element to it, right? Is it something I would like to see eradicated? Yes, absolutely. Is it something I think will go away? No, probably not. How do you mitigate it? And that's how you go about doing it.
No, you mitigate it by banning them when they cheat. Instead of it being a penalty when you pull a man's leg at marker, you get a yellow card. That's how you mitigate it.
Right, well then adapt the rules.
But you're saying the system has to be changed from the referees at ground level up, and that's the only way to stop people cheating.
No,
that's not going to stop people cheating.
It's the only way to stop people cheating. I think it's an important factor in it, and I don't think encouraging the players to behave better is the starting point for that. I think they do need policing on the field, and they need adequately policing on the field, and then bring that in. I'm not saying that cheating shouldn't be punished, and when it's overt and obvious, it's easy to do. What the referees need support in doing is recognising the darker arts that go on and being able to pull that up and control a game, be able to pull a player to one side and say, I saw what you did there, any more of that and you're going in the bin. And then player knows, can't get away with that now. It needs to happen early in the game while a referee asserts himself over the players and shows them that he's in control of what's going on the pitch. And that will improve the spectacle for people. Players, yes, absolutely, they're morally, in a perfect moral world, shouldn't be cheating, but they will try and eke an advantage because they're under pressure from their families to keep a contract, they're under pressure from their clubs to play well and earn points and score points and get them higher up the table. These pressures come into play, okay? Cheating, faking it and diving and feigning injury, absolutely, get them banned, do all that sort of stuff. The niggly kind of fine line stuff that we have trouble with and have trouble with interpretations of, that needs to come from referees being supported and a concerted effort to, over a period of time, improve the calibre and the depth of the refereeing pool so that what comes out of the top is a higher quality product alongside the stuff that you were talking about as well. But that's how I feel. I don't feel that you can morally oblige the players to fix it up themselves.
Okay.
In every circumstance. There's going to be guys out there that are absolute model pros and don't cheat a day in their lives. And there'll be some other days that do. But listen, those are the types of people we all enjoy watching.
I think we've arrived at a conclusion that everything needs to be looked at, which is, great.
Fair play.
I just think pinning it on the referees is the wrong starting point.
Fine. And I'm not referee bashing.
No.
What I'm saying is that as a more broad project,
I agree.
That's what needs to happen with the refereeing pool.
I agree. There needs to be a bigger refereeing pool that should drive
quality
standards to some level. Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
A little bit less heated a topic to discuss. Darts at Mitchell Darts says, if Catalan go down, does their Sky home game disappear from the schedule, or could an extra fortnightly game be shown next year? And then Paul Michael Craig says, further to this, with Toronto being promoted to the Championship, do Premier Sports still get to show their games even though Sky hold the rights?
I have no idea how to answer either of these questions because I don't know.
The second one's very easy to answer because it's been announced that Sky are letting Premier continue with their coverage of the Toronto fixtures. And I'm guessing it'll just be different when it comes to the 8s phase, when Sky might want to select Toronto game, probably more likely Toronto away games than Toronto home games.
I wonder why.
In terms of Catalan, I actually have no absolute idea what the television market demands might be in Catalan. Now the thing with Catalan is they've built up possibly built up a sufficient level of brand to over the last decade to maintain some sort of coverage. And hypothetically, if they're in the Championship next year, there's 2 French teams in the Championship. That might actually drive more desire for TV coverage. So there's still the potential then for Sky to pick it up, but they might not actually want to pick up Championship coverage, even though the cost to them of running the coverage that they run for that is fairly small. They don't have to do a setup and outside broadcasting and that sort of stuff. They can do it from a studio, which they already have, where all the broadcasting equipment's already there.
I suspect they won't be interested in many Championship games between Catalans and other Championships.
That's the possible problem.
Is because you're picking up the audience of those away teams.
But they could still run some sort of way of streaming it or something. I would be shocked if they didn't show it if it was cheap.
Yeah.
But I don't think Catalan will go down. So
there you go. Okay, Mark's blog. The future.
Well, that's what it's called. It's called Structure in the Future, a different way forward for rugby league. It's something I've talked about a lot, but I sort of formalise in my thoughts
a good read.
more. So if you go over to superleaguepod.blogspot.co.uk or whatever it is for that, and have a read of it and let us know your thoughts. And I've had loads of people coming back with thoughts and slight tweaks or just a different idea and that sort of stuff, which is great. But I thought we'd have so much other stuff in this show that I'd just point people towards that for now, and then maybe we'll talk about it in the future. But thanks for everyone's comments, a lot of positive ones, as well as a few people who don't like it, and that's totally fine because it is a bit different to what we're used to. But I've tried to propose a solution for each of the 3 levels of the professional game, as well as an idea about how you'd enter the league and movement between leagues and that sort of stuff. So I've tried to cover all the bases in a simple sort of way. Yeah. So check it out.
Can't recommend it heartily enough. There's a lot of very, very good ideas in that. Okay, that's the feedback and shout-outs taken care of. Let's take a look now at news from around the world of rugby league. Okay, so to this week's news, and we'll start down at the Halliwell Jones, where Warrington have announced that they will part company with head coach Tony Smith at the end of the 2017 Super League season. Smith, who took over the Wolves in March 2009, will leave by mutual consent after securing top flight status for the Wolves during the qualifiers this term. In his 9 years at the Halliwell Jones Stadium, Smith has guided Warrington to 3 Challenge Cup wins, as well as 3 losing grand final appearances, and I think they picked up at least 1 League Leaders Shield along the way as well. I've really enjoyed my 9 years at the club, Smith said, and I feel that it's now in the best interests of us all to go in different directions. Former Wigan and South Sydney coach Michael Maguire has been heavily linked with Warrington, particularly since he parted company with the Rabbitohs this past week. I think plenty of feedback on this.
I think the Madge link is starting to fade, with more and more talk that the Gold Coast Titans will be his destination, which means former Gold Coast Titan, what's his name, Henry, is it? Will probably be the name most widely tipped now for the Warrington job.
I hear Tuvi's looking around for a job.
He's not done himself any favours though, has he?
No, has he fuck? But a year ago...
So, loads of people got in touch with views on this. David Pye said, shout out to Smith, great service to the Warrington Club and our league, and I wish him all the best. Alan Paul Walker said, we'll have him at the Dragons over Stupa Coach any day. Paul O'Brien said, does he fancy a short journey down the road to Widnes? Tyler Casfan said, giving Benny Westwood another year was probably the final straw. More of that later. Tim Griffiths said, personally sad to see him go as a coach. I've always liked and respected. How long till he goes to Catalan? Wow. Wire Joe said his departure, which is a Warrington fan, so good stuff. He says his departure actually answers a few of the questions I posed at the end of my fan review. But as far as us fans are concerned, we need to remember exactly what Smith has done for our club. The difference between where we were before he came and this season aside, where we've been since he arrived. A new voice in the changing rooms with that group of players might be enough to make sure that we don't have a repeat of this year's debacle, unless, of course, the new voice is Richard Agar.
There you go.
Neil McEwen, another Widnes fan, said, would Defo have him at Widnes, but board wouldn't provide the funds he'd want and need. And then Paul Ludo Lewis said, the Kev Brown effect.
There you go.
So a few things to blame it on, and a few people wanting to see him their way. But the most important view there, I think, was what Joe said.
Yeah. No, I think the time has come for him to move on. I think he's done pretty much all he can do at Warrington, and in a way, this season is kind of not an ignominious end, but it's kind of a downtick in terms of what he's achieved as a coach in the UK. Never mind just with Warrington, the work he did at Huddersfield Giants, turning them around, the tremendous success he enjoyed at Leeds, and then the success he had as a Warrington Wolves coach, and the silverware that he's garnered for teams. I know he came in at Huddersfield when they went down, and then he brought them back up and got them firing again, and they kind of went through a renaissance under him.
Is that because I pulled a face when you said that?
He did pull
I was
face.
thinking about the actual chronology and the journey, and I think what happened is he came into a very dysfunctional Giants outfit, and stabilised, like you say. Yeah, I wasn't questioning what you were saying.
Oh, I see.
I was following the path through in my head.
Okay, no problem. But look, he's been at 3 clubs over a number of years in Britain, and has been successful at all 3 of them by every measurable standard. So, where he ends up and what he ends up doing next, I don't know. Do you think he'll go back down? I've not read anything where he's made what he'll do.
I don't imagine he will. I would imagine his stock is far higher in this country for a head coaching role. I would be very surprised if a side employed him with his style and stuff, because he's basically run from dummy half, hope for forwards, footwork, run from dummy half, hope for forward, and then spread it out wide in the last 2 plays. And it can be.
It's a better program. It can be very. Some people in this competition play.
It can be very. No, it can be very quick and stuff like that. I don't think it's a tactic that would work.
Sit well in the NRL.
Yeah, I don't see that necessarily being the case.
Yeah,
but
it'll be interesting to see where he lands then, because if he's staying up in this part of the world, then
wherever he goes, they'll want to be looking for someone like a Darryl Clark type hooker to go with him wherever he goes. Yeah, which is, I don't think it'd be suited to the Widnes side that is. So I think that'd be a big turnaround for him.
Yeah, might bring Kev Brown back with him though.
I would suspect that Catalan ain't a bad shout if they hadn't just given a 2-year
Steve McNamara.
McNamara,
well, time will tell.
Then there's
maybe it takes a year or 2 out. And
there's Salford. Marwan's known to make a punt,
possibly,
and he wouldn't feel too bad about cutting ties with someone you don't necessarily feel if he thinks he can get someone better in. So that's an angle potentially. And it also could be whether they got someone from within the league already.
There you go. We'll have to see. Okay, moving on. Wakefield Trinity second row Chris Anakin has signed a new 2-year contract. The 26-year-old, who was out of contract at the end of this season, has made 53 Super League appearances for Chris Chester's side. Good piece of business.
Yeah, well, he was sort of on the way out, and then constantly changing his hairstyle between cornrows and man bun, kind of got him back into the eyes of the attention of the coach, I think.
Do you reckon it was his haircut that got him back?
I think it's gotta be. He's so eye-catching, his hairstyles, and his change between the two on an almost weekly basis.
He's expressing himself, Mark, and he's been doing it on the field, and now he's at a nice 2-year deal.
Well, that's it. He's sort of a tough, uncompromising squad player, which
is something that Wakefield have built a fair amount of their success around, isn't it? Okay, Warrington Wolves confirmed that centre Peter Hiku will leave the club at the end of the 2017 season. Hiku has impressed in his short time at the Wolves, earning himself Man of the Match award in the weekend's game against Leeds Centurions, and helping to secure the club's Super League status for 2018. Hiku confirmed in the post-game press conference that he's taken the decision to return back to the NRL for family reasons. He's heading to the New Zealand Warriors.
Yeah, it looks like a 3-year contract might be getting signed, which is good for him. He was a Warriors junior.
Do you know what?
So that is exactly where his family is.
I admire Peter Hiku for this, because he came over. Yes, it hasn't worked out for him in terms of a long-term move, but he's played his heart out for Warrington, hasn't he, whilst he's been over here? And
yes, to get a deal.
Got himself a deal. Well, fair play to the guy. Do you think that if he hadn't been offered... if he hadn't made a fist of it, he probably would have been offered a deal, but it would have exacerbated the troubles he'd been having, wouldn't it? In terms of settling with the family. Or do you think the family reasons is like a...
Yeah, I don't think the family were with him ever. I think that's part. I think that is part of the problem.
Right, okay. I'll take it all back then.
And I do think that's part of the problem, and I do see that. But I think if he, I think he would have been happy to stay and would have kept performing until he wanted to use it as an excuse.
It's just
or a reason or an explanation or something, because I honestly don't think he ever intended to